Are we on board? All right. Okay, we're going to call to order the meeting of the Zionsville Board of Parks and Recreation for Wednesday, August 10th, 2022. We'll begin with the roll call. Vice President Jill Pack.
Here.
Secretary John Wollenberg.
Here.
Tim Cassidy.
Here.
John Salowitz.
Here.
Sarah Moore.
Here.
Chris Barksdale.
Here.
All right, and the next order of business will be the minutes. Has everybody had a chance to look over the transcript of the minutes? You may have any questions or comments? All right, with that, I'll entertain a motion to accept the minutes.
I move we approve the minutes as submitted.
Tim Cassidy makes a motion to approve the minutes. Anybody have a second?
Second.
John Salowitz seconds. We can do that by acclamation. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. All right, the next item on the agenda is the public presentations or comments, and we're going to begin with a note on the fact that we were going to have a public meeting on the Carpenter Nature Preserve bond, which we canceled, and we put out notice that that was canceled. I see that we don't have anyone here to make any comments tonight, but I think for the public record, it would be good to have Amy give us an update on where this process is and where we go from here. So Amy?
Sure. Jared gave a thorough presentation to the town council at their August 1st meeting on the Carpenter Nature Preserve vision and the opportunity to acquire the land with a bond. The council had a discussion about it and had some questions and indicated that they wanted some additional information to help inform their decision before they were ready to move forward with the consideration of any bond ordinance on this. So no formal action was taken at the town council meeting because they did not have an ordinance in front of them to consider. Some of the additional information that the council wants to see is an updated appraisal of the land. The last appraisal was done in 2020. So they'd like to see an updated appraisal of the land and the completion of the 5-year master plan. Those were two highlights that came from their discussion. So after the town council meeting, we had a little meeting with the bond council and discussed procedure for the bond process and determined that it would be best to cancel the public hearing that was scheduled tonight and hold off and have that after the updated appraisal is obtained and after the 5-year master plan is completed, so that this additional information can be available when we have the formal public input on the bond process. And also so we can hold the public hearing closer to the time that the bond ordinance is going to be introduced to the council. So there's no big lapse in time there. So the timeline to obtain that additional information, first of all, the 5-year master plan is to be completed in December and adopted in January. And with regard to the appraisal, Jared has 2 pending grants right now and related to the Carpenter Nature Preserve. And one is the next level conservation grant for land acquisition. And he expects to hear from them within the next couple of weeks whether or not that grant is going to be awarded. If that grant is awarded, that grant requires an updated appraisal to be done in connection with the grant. So he should know before the September meeting whether or not that grant has been awarded. So by the September meeting, the board can consider whether or not to, one, if that grant is awarded, then move forward with the updated appraisal in connection with that grant, following those grant procedures and any requirements they would have specifically about the way that the appraisal is done and who does it. If the grant is not awarded, then you could vote at that time to move forward with an independent updated appraisal of the land. Jared has reached out to the appraiser that did the appraisal in 2020, and he said that he could do an updated appraisal for $4,000, and it would be a 45-day turnaround for that appraisal. So I know Jared wants to wait to hear on the grants before making that decision, but at the September meeting, you should be prepared to make a decision and move forward with that if that's what you choose to do. Once the updated appraisal are obtained and the 5-year master plan is completed, or you feel that it's to a point that you're ready to utilize the information that had been gathered, we can move forward and reschedule the public hearing here. And then you can request that the bond ordinance then be added to a subsequent meeting of the town council put on their agenda for consideration.
So all of this is going on against the backdrop of the town council and the mayor not fully communicating on financial information and financial information not being shared. So I think it's probably in our best interest to cool our jets a little bit until that situation is worked out and then move forward with that. I will tell you that we did meet with the carpenters last week, and they are on board with that process. They're willing to be patient, and we are lucky to have citizens like them that are willing to do that and be patient. So I think there's no hurry, and we'll see how this develops over the next couple of months. As I messaged you all, I don't think we're dead yet on this. I don't think we're anywhere close to being dead on this. I still think that the importance of it is still apparent to a lot of people, and I think it's going to pass. We're just going to have to take our time and do it. Maybe not on our timetable, but on the town council's timetable, and that's fine as far as I'm concerned. Does anybody have any questions or comments about that? No, very good. Okay. All right, let's move on. The next item on the agenda. Thank you, Amy.
Sure, you're welcome.
The next item on the agenda is the Pathways Committee update, and Sarah was at the Pathways Committee meeting last night, so she has fresh news for us today.
Pathways Committee meeting last night was canceled.
Well, maybe not.
But I have.
That's news. I didn't know that.
That's news. And I have something to discuss. They do want to, they would like to consider applying for the town enrichment grant to get a trail counter to put on one of the trails in the community. But I believe that I've checked into this, and the Pathways Committee doesn't have enough of we're not a nonprofit organization. We're just a committee for the town to apply for it ourselves. So first we wanted to check with the parks to see if that's something that you're interested in us moving forward. And then I wondered if either we could partner, we would fill out the whole application and everything, and we wouldn't put it somewhere that Parks doesn't want it to be, but we thought that would be a nice way to advertise the parks, is to have a trail counter. So we were thinking that either the parks or maybe the Parks Foundation would like to partner with us if we fill out the application and try to get a trail counter for a trail.
So is that a formal request that we can consider at the next meeting, perhaps?
Yes, what would you like a formal request to look like?
Amy, should that be a written request that spells out what it is that they're proposing, and then we consider it based on that?
Yes. Although the town enrichment grant is due August 30th. So I guess I said I would feel everybody out here. And then if it was something, to me, it makes the most sense to go with the Parks Foundation because of the separation from the town.
Mhm.
And so maybe if that's something that you think sounds, I mean, I don't see a downside to it, to have a parks counter.
We've always
A trail
talked
counter.
about trying to get a counter on the rail trail. So, and I know Jared knows of that need. So I would, move that you talk to Jared and decide whether parks or the foundation is the right way to go. But I would move that, given the time frame, that if, that we delegate, that we approve of the Parks Board being used as a vehicle for applying for this grant, and that we delegate to Jared and Sarah, if that is necessary, to move forward and sign all documents necessary. So that's the motion.
Is that a good motion? Amy?
Yes.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
My second.
Okay, we have a motion from Tim Cassidy to move forward with Pathways Committee to look into the possibility of getting funding for a trail counter. Chris Barksdale seconds. Does anybody have any comments or questions about that? All right, let's take a vote. Jill Pack.
Aye.
John Wallenberg.
Aye.
Tim Cassidy.
Aye.
John Salowitz.
Aye.
Sarah Moore.
I think I should abstain.
Okay. Chris Barksdale.
Aye.
And I'm going to say no. It just kind of comes out of the blue, and I haven't had any time to think about it. So the motion carries, what's that? 5 to 1 abstention and 1 no. All right. Thank you. Anything else from Pathways Committee?
No, that's the big thing. We're also working on the application to get, every so often you have to re-register as a bikeable community. And so we're still working on that application to get that.
Great. And let me just say, I'm totally in favor and on board with the Pathways Committee. I like what they're doing, and I like that there's a group that's committed to the issues that they're committed to. So
Yeah, thank you.
please don't take that my feelings on that vote tonight as a negative toward the committee itself.
No, I find that similar to what I did last month, so I
Okay,
understand.
thank you. All right, we're going to go on to staff reports, and you may have noticed that Jared is not in the room. That's because Jared was diagnosed with COVID earlier today, so he is taking it easy and isolating at home. Unfortunately, Mindy does not have COVID, so she is going to take his place
Not that I
tonight,
know
and
of.
she's going to go through the staff reports. So
Not
Mindy,
yet. Don't jinx me, please. All right, so I'm going to do the superintendent's report based off notes that Jared sent to me. So just a few things. The department welcomed Chris Flanagan as a new director of maintenance. He joined the department in July 25th, and you'll be hearing from him shortly. So we're happy to have him on the team, and I know he's learning the ropes very quickly. So that's a good one. We also had the 5-year master plan steering committee was met and discussed initial findings, the community surveys and the public open house. REA also attended the August 6th farmers market with the Creek Stomper, had some great input that came through. And there will be another second open house session on August 17th. Just wanted to get that out there for the community to hear. Amy already talked a little bit about the town council presentation and the bond information. And the other thing that Jared had on here was with regard to that next level conservation trust program. So read what he put on here for it. So with the assistance of REA, the department submitted a grant application to the Next Level Conservation Trust Program. It's designed to assist communities with acquisitions of large natural spaces geared toward conservation and public health. If awarded, this grant would provide funding for acquisitions of Carpenter Nature Preserve. The department would utilize the bargain sale price of the preserve as a local match, requiring no local funds to complete acquisition. Department should know in the coming weeks if the Carpenter Nature Preserve application is a finalist. And then if selected, Jared would present early September to the NLC grant committee for final approval. And that's all I have from his notes.
any questions or comments? Okay. All right. Thank you. And Chris is going to come up and give his first maintenance services report. And as he's walking up here, let me say that he is a real get for us. He'll tell you a little bit about his background, I hope. But our friend Wayne Bivens, who used to be on the Parks Board here, is a family friend, I guess. And he speaks,
We know each other from Eagle Creek.
he speaks
He's a
very
regular
highly of
volunteer
you.
there,
So
and I
that
worked with him quite a bit.
that means a lot with some of us. So please go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So thanks for having me on board. My name is Chris Flanagan. Been here total 3 weeks now. I'm in the middle of the third week, and I'm very happy to be part of Zionsville Parks and Recreation. I come by way of McCormick's Creek State Park and Eagle Creek Park. I was the assistant property manager at McCormick's Creek Park for a short period of time before coming here when this opportunity arose. Felt like I had to throw my hat in the ring and jump on it. Prior to that, I was at Eagle Creek Park as the trails manager there for the last about 4.5 years. And even before that, I worked at Eagle Creek and their outfitters, and I managed the zip line course there as well. I've got a degree in geography and some minors in sustainability management, public policy, and philosophy as well. At Eagle Creek, really proud of the work me and my team did there. We did a lot of infrastructure repair. I got a lot of experience and a lot of focus in dropping dangerous trees. That was kind of my focus as the emerald ash borer was making its way through the area. One of our main focus was trail safety and infrastructure repair in my duration there. Did a lot of time working with volunteers. We had a regular volunteer group that came in every Wednesday. About 8 or 9 retired folks would come in and help myself and my trail steward as we did various jobs throughout the park. So again, very excited to be here. Thank you very much for having me on board. So I've got a July, oh, sorry, was there anything?
We just said welcome.
Oh, thank you. Sure. So I do have the July report. I just started July 25th, but I went through the maintenance X program and then talked to some of our outstanding crew members to put some of this together. So as far as staffing, again, I came on July 25th. Thanks again for having me. Parks team used a total of 62 hours of PTO, 8 hours of jury duty, and 8 hours of town emergency COVID time. Our parks team took about 5 total man hours, removing 4 incidents of graffiti. A little bit was at the Elm Street Tunnel. Most of it was at the Sycamore Bridge over at Creekside. The Parks team repaired the tennis courts nets and cleared weeds along the tennis court fence. Along the Big Four rail trail, the Parks team focused on clearing back foliage that was encroaching on various parts of the trail, getting in the way of signage and sight lines. At Heritage Trail, our natural resources technician, Mallory, continues to maintain care of the nursery trees that have been put out there. I think she worked with a scout team with that tree nursery that's out there. The Parks team additionally treated and weeded the planting beds around the playground. And Gordon, one of our technicians, he removed the posts along the fence line of the dog park and reset the dog waste stations at ADA height. At Creekside Nature Park, again, the team trimmed back vegetation to open up trail signage along the trails and vehicular sight lines. And again, Mallory led a volunteer group with ARC, painting a mural along the creek that goes through there. I suggest if you all have an opportunity, go out and check it out. She did finish it just this week. And today they went out and cleared weeds for the sight line. So as you're kayaking down the creek, it'll come up on you. It's really bright, really colorful. Definitely suggest everyone go and take a look. Again, at Elm Street Green, the month was spent mostly along the trails, doing clearing back vegetation, opening up sight lines. Mulberry Fields, the team mulched all the young trees throughout the park, as well as weeding the garden circle and the flower beds and removing bee and hornet nests. Mostly at Shelter B, they did do a sweep to check for more and none showed up. And apparently there was a Barns and Brews, some sort of festival at Maple Lawn that month. They took down, there was a banner along the fence and then did some additional cleanup from that event as well. At Starkey Park, the team installed no bike signage at the Sugar Bush Trail 1 entrance and along the rail trail entrance. Cleaned up a lot of various broken glass and debris that was in the parking lot. Again, trimmed back foliage to open up sight lines, trail signage. They had to block off a section of trail. Apparently there's an old bridge in that area that needed to be blocked off. It was also the end of the trail. I plan on going out there at some point in the future and investigating that to see if that needs ripped out completely or rebuilt. And then they also, underneath the 100-foot bridge, there were a few undesirable user-made trails that we don't want to be part of the system, and they went and slashed those. We'll have to keep an eye on those to make sure that those trails don't open back up. At Overly Warman, the team spent a lot of time removing large patches of poison hemlock that had grown up along the trail. Apparently they were out doing some clearing, came upon the poison hemlock. Mallory stepped in, did a great job, stopped everyone right with what they were doing to avoid getting any dangerous exposure, got everyone suited up, and they cleared it all out. Of course, clearing back foliage, and then they did a lot of tree removal from storm damage throughout the month. And they did at Overly Warm and also install a new bike repair station. At the American Legion Trail Crossing, they did some spraying and trim back of vegetation to clean up the hardscape. Carter Station was trimming back vegetation that was blocking signage in the parking area and opening up sight lines. At the Nature Sanctuary, they mowed the pathways. And at Turkey Foot, Mallory once again led a volunteer group, removing a large section of honeysuckle between the parking lot and the creek area. If you go out there and take a look, she did a wonderful job. Did a really great job with the volunteers clearing that out, and there's plenty more to do out there to keep her busy. The Parks team installed a solar-powered light at the trailhead. They removed weeds and volunteer woody growth in the planting areas along the redbud section of the trail where Turkey Foot comes around. And they bucked and cleaned up down trees in the parking lot, and again, trimmed foliage from along the trail itself to open up benches, sight lines, etc. That's all I have for you right now.
You've been busy the last 3 weeks. I have a question for you about, since you're someone who's pretty well versed in the modern way of maintaining parkland like this, do you have any initial thoughts on the maintenance program that we've been using?
I've been exploring it a lot when I have the ability to. I do like it. I think it's going to take a little bit of work for us to get the team up to speed and making it a part of their regular daily use, which I'll be focusing on that in the weeks to come. But I do think it's a good tool, and I think we can get a lot of use out of it so long as we really ingrain it in our culture moving forward, that it's something we're going to utilize, which we'll be focusing on.
Yeah, we've been waiting for an update on how well it's been working, and due to a change in the department and a few other things, we haven't gotten that update yet.
Sure.
So if we could pencil that in for next month, if you would have some comments for us, I think that would be helpful, at least
Sure
to me.
enough. Absolutely.
We are paying for that, so I want to know that
Absolutely.
it's working. Is there anything else? Anybody have anything else for Chris?
I was wondering what you do to trails that people make to make them, you said slash them. I don't know what that means.
Oh, so trail slashing is just so you have an undesirable trail that people have made. What it is, you usually take woody debris, like say if we're doing clearing honeysuckle or autumn olive, invasives are a good one. Pile that up, and then you kind of pile debris up, throw some bare logs and some leaves to try to make it and blend it into the natural forest floor, so it kind of disguises the trail to essentially hide it from people passing by so they don't see it or know it's there.
Okay.
Not always 100% successful, but if you stay on it and re-slash and re-slash and re-slash, people tend to get the gist of it after a while and realize that that is not a trail that you're supposed to use. So it's an ongoing thing whenever you have undesirable trails pop up, but that's just the nature of the game, really.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Anybody else? Well, Chris, thank you and
Thank
welcome
you.
aboard. Glad you're here.
Appreciate y'all.
All right, next on the agenda, we have Mindy coming back up, putting on her Director of Recreation Services hat to tell us about that summary for July.
Yeah. All right. So of course, always I come up and say we had a busy month, which we always do. But July was the end of our summer camp season. But even with that, we still had with summer camps, I guess, a lot of attendance through the nature center. So just shy of 2,000 people walked through the door of the nature center. I'm sure, the library was hopping too. Every time I was over there, it was busy. But most of our July programs were wrapped around camp. So we did end our camp season with 16 camps from ages 2 to 12. We had 324 kids register for camp this year and made total camp fees were just shy of $20,000. And I'm happy to say, I know last year was a little bit of a struggle with us having to cancel a few camps because of weather. But this year we reached our goals and actually a little bit over the goals as far as covering all of our supplies and including, this was a new one for us this year, we included both the seasonals as well as all the part-time staff, their hours out of those fees. So it was nice to be able to see that recovery that we still were able to maintain. So that just means that we're at a good price point. So we don't see any need to increase or change those for next year. The other thing we talked about is we actually just sent out this week a survey to all of the parents of the campers to kind of get their thoughts, because we're looking at ways to, we always look at ways that we might want to change camp a little bit, different themes, different topics. Do we play with the ages? Do we play with the times? So we're still getting that information back, but the last I got back from it, about a third of the parents had responded, and I'm happy to say 100%, so they would come back to camp. So I'll take that one. But yeah, so I'm happy to, get that report together for next month if you guys are interested to see what kind of comes out of the thoughts. Just it was a quick, like a 10 question, a couple minute survey to the parents. The other things going on, of course, we're utilizing the Creek Stomper because the weather's nice and warm, because we realize as soon as it gets cold, it's a diesel engine. It's going to have to go into bed for the winter. So we were at the Zionsville Farmers Market in July. We were back there in August. And we are also at the Touch a Truck event in Zion at the library. So a lot of people have been out there seeing the Creek Stomper. And I will say we have our first private event so we will be at Eagle Fest. So there we go. In August, we've got, if you guys haven't noticed, we have our Arts in the Park. So we've had 2 events so far. We had our drumline and yoga and karate demonstrations. This Saturday, we're doing a paint out at Mulberry Fields. It's gonna be beautiful weather. And then we have an open mic night in the park next week. And then those kind of finish off. And then we will have Creek Fest, as we always have at Elm Street Green on August 20th. So a lot of very cool things going on. And on top of that one, we are working at putting together the fall activity guide. So I've got actually 17 pages of fall programs. And I just got the first draft for the activity guide. So the hope is to get that out about mid to right towards the end of August. So there'll be a lot of things to do in the park for fall. But other than that, I know I'll have a presentation with you guys later about MyRac, but if you have any questions.
Well, we'll get to the MyRec software in just a couple of minutes. But if you have any questions for Mindy on programs over the past month?
Thank you and your staff for, I mean, summers are crazy. So we always underestimate and underappreciate how much you and your staff do and how much touches you have with the citizens, whether it's at the farmer's market or in your camp. So thanks.
Thank you. I know.
Yeah.
We enjoy what we're doing.
You're the definition of small but mighty. I know there's just a few, but you do a lot, and the big truck certainly draws attention to you.
Yes.
And you're there to serve people when they come. So I think
I
that's
wish
great.
I would have gone to touch a truck at the library.
Could have.
There
We-
were other trucks
we-
there? Or-
There were, and we
Cool.
even cleaned out the creek stopper so the kids could go inside of it, and yeah.
Yeah, there's like, all the different kinds of equipment out there, and there's, police cars and all this kind of stuff, a fire truck, because, it's a chance to get in and see what they're all about.
Great idea.
It's always been very popular for us.
All right. Thank you, Mindy. Mindy's not going away for good, though. She's going to tell us all about MyRec in a few minutes. Next on the agenda here is the golf course report. And Mike Wall is making his way up, and Mike has tremendous news about the golf course. So why don't you go ahead, Mike?
All right, so I'm gonna just pull my mask down just because you won't hear me. So the golf course opened June 11th. We've been open roughly 60 days, and as of today, we eclipsed $200,000 of revenue for the year. To put that in perspective, in 2019, we did $219,000 for the entire year. So I'd say we're doing okay. Rounds this year, we're at 7,500, which is averaging 124 rounds per day. In July, we didn't have quite $100,000 in revenue, $98,000. Our previous high ever was $80,000. So again, doing pretty well. So if you want to forecast that out or compare it to previous years, we're still about $120,000 in the deficit from like 2021. But I would still project that based on previous years' revenue, we should still get to about $400,000 for 2022, which would be just about $40,000 shy of 2021. So we're doing pretty well. As far as the course, we have some work on hole 8 that Duke was funding. That was it's going to be near completion. They've done the irrigation work on the tee. They'll be seeding that Friday, Monday, and Tuesday, and then hopes of mid to late September, the tee will be back open for play. The grass around the cart paths still kind of remains an issue. The rains this week, it's quite muddy around those areas. So it's not turf growing back, it's rather pretty much weeds. So I know I've talked to Jared about that. There's a contingency plan in place. I'm starting to get kind of quotes in the event that our previous contractor doesn't come back. So we're working on that kind of stuff. So
Just to clarify, I just spoke with Mike and Trish, and we have claims from the contractor for the path project, and there's a holdback and a punch list, which includes the proper seeding and cleanup of the dirt next to the paths. So they are on the hook. That contract is not yet complete, but query whether they'll come through. So when Mike speaks of contingencies, that's, you know, what if the contractor doesn't come through? This is what we're going to have to do. I should further say, Mike, that the feedback I've received from citizens is that one, we forget that 3-4 years ago when the irrigation project, that's paying big dividends because the greens and the fairways are in great shape. They've just been in wonderful shape when most courses around here, you know, their fairways start to burn out. So kudos on that. People love the new carts. The new carts with the new paths are not getting the wear and tear and yeah, much easier on the carts now. The new paths people like as well. So all the original grousing about that has subsided
It's definitely,
substantially.
yeah, it's subsided. Yes,
It's safe and the paths are great, but it's not quite over yet.
no, it'll get there, and it is who, you know, I mean, it wouldn't be Zionsville, you know, if there weren't some, you know, complaints. So kind of with that being said, I'd kind of like to kind of just publicly state a few observations I've had on the course this year, in regards to etiquette. It's kind of been a little not good, in the sense that we have posted out there, you know, that if a single or a double comes in, that we're going to pair people up. Well, that just doesn't happen at Zionsville. We send 2 people out there, they get around the first corner, they split up. We're trying to operate a business down there. And, you know, to maximize, you know, a foursome, we just can't have singles show up on a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. and expect to play as a single. It's posted that foursomes will be made, and that if you make a single tee time, that we won't make foursomes. And it's just not, you know, if you go to GCI, they're going to pair you up. You go anywhere else, they'll pair you up. Well, at Zionsville, that just doesn't seem to be the case. And we've gotten a lot of pushback on that. So I'm just kind of making a public, you know, plea that, hey, we've posted that. We're trying to operate as a business. So please, please adhere to that policy. You know, coolers, you know, private coolers, you know, it's a state law. You can't bring your own alcoholic beverages out there. We have a large offering out there. So when we empty the trash at night, there's many times what we offer is not in the garbage can. So that's posted as well. So it's, you know, it's flat out illegal to bring those coolers. Any place you go, it's posted. It's posted at Zionsville. You know, my staff shouldn't really have to be, you know, we do monitor it, but we really shouldn't have to be police and go to such great lengths to stop this. So I'm just trying to make, you know, I'm asking, please adhere to our policies. You know, we've been very welcoming down at the golf course, but I think some of these we've been taken advantage of. So I'm just asking for adhere to our policies.
Some of this is the problem of success.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
You've got more people and it's more crowded, and that's re-education is going to be required.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I'll just close that we actually had somebody last week playing without a shirt. So, you know, so I mean,
They
it's
also
like
have alcohol.
no shoes, no shirt, no service. I mean, so it's kind of one of those things where we always joke only at Zionsville, but you know, playing without a shirt's kind of just gone a little bit beyond. But,
Well, is there anything we can do to support you in this?
yeah, I don't know. I mean, yeah, we post it. You know, the other thing is lots of times people are sneaking on the course. And we do call the police. I mean, it's just one of those things. It's just we're just not gonna, you know, we try to be nice, you know, leave, you ask them to leave. But when it's habitual, you know, we don't want to bother the police with, you know, petty items like that. But, you know, it's just to the point where we just We have to. I mean, it's, they're out there damaging the course potentially and ruining it for others. So we have to, it's trespassing. So we got to kind of, we don't want to, but we have to. I mean, it's just, yeah, there's nothing, I'm not asking for any help. I'm just kind of
Sure.
just publicly stating that, we do have those policies. They're posted, they're on the scorecards, they're posted in the clubhouse. That if we could just be more cognizant of, hey, Zionsville's just like Golf Club of Indiana. They're just like Trophy Club. They're just like any place else. We've stepped up our game. It's time for our golfers to kind of step up their game. We're welcoming to everybody. It's just, golf's a game of etiquette. Let's,
Yeah.
so.
Maybe a social media post to the Facebook page or something, just kind of,
Yeah, I was
just
thinking
kind of
maybe a
restating
video.
that to make people aware.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like maybe a video would do it.
Yeah.
I'm a
I mean,
librarian and I find that people don't
Yeah,
often
I-
read signs.
because we have that electronic display, we could put,
That's why
we could put videos up on that electronic display. We could do that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
You have an email list that's pretty comprehensive, don't you?
Yeah,
Might be
I just
another
don't want
vehicle.
to, like with our email list, it's like in the past 2 days, it seems like I've sent out a lot of emails. And I don't want to get to be the point where I'm constantly, because then they don't get read. So I'm strategic about using that email. So, but it is something that I can. So, I mean, full disclosure, I do know that Holiday Farms did just send something out to their membership about something that, they weren't very proud of. So, I mean, it does happen. Again, I'm not asking for a whole lot. I'm just asking for an awareness and,
Maybe that's something that you can reset at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
In the beginning of a normal year. I mean, this
Yeah.
year was a little bit challenging in that way.
if you find people that break the rules to bringing in their own alcohol, do you say they can't come back for a period of time, or like that's it for the year or anything?
No, there's nothing like that. I mean, we just ask that they, take it back to their car.
Yeah.
And if they get belligerent, then we, do ask them to leave, but there's no set like, oh, you can't come back for a week or a month or anything like that. I mean, it's just a law. You just can't bring, but we don't have a
Yeah,
policy that says, all right, you brought whatever and you can't come back for a month.
well, if you feel like that would be helpful, I mean, I think we would support that.
Okay.
Maybe we should talk about that next spring before the course opens. If you want to make a note to come back and we can work on some ideas to make that better. All right. Thank you, Mike.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All right. The next on the list here is our parks attorney. We already asked Amy to talk about the bond. So is there anything else that you wanted to share with us tonight?
Oh, just a real short update that we completed and John executed the second amended declaration of restriction on Overly Warman Park for the DNR that we talked about last month. That's been submitted to DNR. We're just waiting on their blessing. And once they give that, then we'll get that recorded. One little interesting piece involving that was that we were notified by DNR that they needed a meets and bounds legal description for the third parcel, at least, that we were putting the restriction on. And so we asked them if a legal description for the entirety of Overly Warman would be sufficient, because that would be beneficial to have in the future. And Jared said for, future opportunities, that made the most sense. And to me, it seemed like it would provide the most clarity since we have 3 layered, restrictions there. And they said, yes, we could do that. So I reached out to HWC Engineering, who had been, I saw, involved in some of the platting of Bonterra. So thought maybe they would have some background knowledge. And they turned around a legal description really quickly of the entirety of Overly Warman and decided not to charge the park board anything for doing that. So just wanted to know.
Okay. Anybody have any questions for Amy? Comments? All right, we're good. Let's move on to the next item then, which is the under new business, and Mindy, playing the role of Jared, is going to talk about the Mulberry Fields special use permit.
All right. Did you guys get a picture at all in your packet of the location for the permit?
No.
Just a
You're all
picture-
quiet,
Oh,
so
he has a
I'm
picture of
assuming
window,
no.
I think.
I had nothing. in my-
Of course, now my computer's.
This is the window.
No, the special use, this is not, this is for Mulberry Fields.
Oh.
Bear with me, my computer went.
We know nothing.
What? Pops up for me. There you go. All right. All right, so we know from time to time the Parks Department receives requests to utilize open spaces, usually Mulberry Fields for kind of a regular activity. And then, of course, the superintendent works with the park board attorney and the park board to kind of look over a waiver and approve any kind of those events listing restrictions, conditions, and acknowledgements. So there was a request that was brought before, or this request is being brought before the board for approval. Local Cub Scout Packs 358 and 105 have requested to utilize open space of Mulberry Fields for tethered hot air balloon rides on August 27th of this year from 6:30 to 9:30 p.m. The event anticipates 250 attendees, and it's currently in the town's special event review process. So it is going through all the other departments as well. Operations for this will require 4 vehicles to drive out onto the sport fields and be utilized as weights and for tethered rides that will be limited to 70 feet. Unfortunately, or not fortunately, the Boy Scouts of America, they do have structured guidelines for this type of activity. So they're requiring specification of the tether, 200-foot minimum distance from any utility lines or structures. So you can see in that map, that's kind of the location of where this would occur. So they're not anywhere near the lighting at Mulberry Fields. And the balloon and operator must be registered, certified, and insured. This is the site map. They also have a certificate of insurance listed in the town of Zionsville as additionally insured in the amount of $1 million. And it's the department's request to have the park board consider this activity. And upon approval, Jared will work with Amy to finalize a special use permit requiring certificate of insurance, which he actually has. All guidelines concerning tethering the hot air balloon rides are followed by the BSA hot air balloon tethered protocol standards. And of course, we can cancel the event if the field conditions are poor or if the weather or winds are becoming a concern. So that is the request.
And just to add to that, that there are protocols as far as wind and all that kind of stuff. If the wind is over a certain degree, they can't do this. And, you know, it's very well thought out. It's not like just
As a co-master, I'm probably going to abstain from voting because I'm part of PAC 105, but we have done this 3 times at Union Elementary School, and it's been very successful. I've used my car numerous times. Every time it's part of the anchor. We did it right by the Dad's Club shelter at Union, and it's a fantastic item. We've postponed once because of wind, so there'll probably be a request if there's postponement, possibly to change the date, obviously, because wind obviously plays a big role in this. So
right. And insurance does cover the town and the park board, right, Amy? Is there any question there that we should?
We will make sure that they add the park board on as an additional insurance specifically also in the town.
So there's minimal risk on our part in doing this. Okay.
Is this a fundraiser?
it's for recruiting,
Oh, okay.
recruiting for Cub Scouts.
And that's not, we don't have any reason that would be against our general use policies.
I think the Boy Scouts using Mulberry Fields is a great use. I mean, I wish they used it more.
I
frankly.
think most of them didn't know it was an option, so
Yeah. Yep.
I've made them aware.
Does anybody have any more thoughts on that or comments? Okay, do we have a motion then to allow the Boy Scouts to bring in the hot air balloon to Mulberry Fields?
I move we approve the special use request as of the Boy Scouts as submitted and described by Mindy.
We have a motion from Tim Cassidy. Do we have a second?
Second.
Jill Pack seconds. So let's take roll. Jill,
Aye.
John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Tim Cassidy,
Aye.
John Salowitz,
Abstain.
Sarah Moore,
Aye.
Chris Barksdale,
Aye.
and I say aye as well. The motion carries 6-0 with 1 abstention. All righty. Maple Lawn site improvement, and this is the windmill that you were talking about. And do you have the notes on what happened with the windmill, Mindy?
I don't have the full notes, but I did read the email from Chris.
Okay.
So I know that they were working with someone that was going to potentially pull a windmill out of, he had set them up for auction and was going to sell directly to Maple Lawn. Unfortunately, found out that he was not able to remove the windmill out of the auction. So they did go to try to get a windmill from the auction. The auction amount went actually above and beyond what they were going to pay. That would have also included like setup and, you know, delivery and everything. So it was above the scope that they could pay at that time. So there is no windmill currently, but they learned a lot as far as what permits needed and, you know, how would they actually acquire and get something of that structure there. So they'll be on the lookout for a future windmill. So, and this was just for the board. So this would not be, it would be a functioning windmill as that it would move, it would spin with the wind, but it would not actually be pumping any water. So more of just for the aesthetics.
Yes. Which I think will be a nice addition. So hopefully we'll be more successful in obtaining a windmill in the future.
Find a future
So-
windmill.
That's not something that we need to take action on tonight, right, Amy? We just pass that by and move on to the MyRec software presentation.
All right.
Mindy?
Okay, so I know I presented to you guys back in spring about moving our registration system to a new software, just because the current systems that we had, we were utilizing both the town's website as well as OpenGov. We all know the issues with OpenGov that have been ongoing for the town. It was no different as far as with registration and trying to take payment on our end. For, the staff found it clunky. Users found it difficult to kind of navigate through. So we did kind of a search through some various different ones. And we came across a park registration site called MyRec. And so I was working with them throughout the spring, and we actually built our site from scratch. And we went live the middle of July. So we've been active for about 3-4 weeks now on taking in registration and dog park memberships, facility reservations for picnic shelters, as well as the creek stomper, as well as school programming. And so I kind of wanted to just kind of walk you guys through, if you hadn't already gone on and looked at our site, maybe signed up for some programs. So, but we do have a shortcut. So it's just zionsvilleparksandrecreation.org if you want to get to that one, or we have links all over the town of Zionsville's website. So the parks pages will not be removed from the website. And actually there is discussion of potentially expanding those park pages to make them more beefy, because we definitely have reached that component, and that might be a possibility for next year when the town does kind of a revamp of the website. They have I think it's every 5 years that they do a refresh. And so this would be part of the potential for the refresh for that one. But we would still continue to utilize MyRec when it comes to the end of registrations and taking payments. So, but just kind of wanted to show you guys some of the ins and outs of it. So this is the front facing. This is what you would see if you logged in, or any public person would log in. And the nice thing with MyRec is it's very self-explanatory. So everything is kind of in multiple places. For one thing, if you wanted to sign up to make an account, because you really do need an account to do anything on this form. You've got the kind of a new account right here, account up here, which says create account or log into your account. I'm not going to log in because I don't want people to see my information. But that's and even down below where it says create an account. And just to give you guys an example, so if we click on programs, so these are all the programs and the park memberships for actually winter or fall is in here as well. So you can see there's a lot of stuff going on. But for example, I'm going to say this one's coming up on Friday. Go into the S'mores Day campfire, gives a little information about the program. We're able to insert a picture if we wanted to. But when people go down to scroll down, they can see, you know, if there's any spots available, if there's a fee to that, the location. But if they want to register, again, it tells them to log in. And if they clicked on that and they didn't have an account, it would say, let's set up your account. So there's multiple ways. And it's very simple to set up an account. The nice thing with that is they can make household accounts. So they can list all the adults in their family as well as all the children in their family. They can actually add in just paying members. So if they have a grandparent that maybe doesn't sign up the kids, but usually will pay for summer camp, they could add grandma as a payee into their account. So then she could go in and pay any invoices that are there. So there's multiple kind of people that you can add. There's two things. So once they put in their account, the system itself actually checks their address to the address database that we put in. And so it'll tell them if they're a resident or a non-resident of Zionsville, since we know our community lines are a little difficult to navigate. You're not sure, you know, where you truly are based off of your address sometimes. The other thing is it'll ask for birth dates. And once those are in, they cannot be changed. So if they would, by accident, you know, mess up somebody's birthday, which happens, they can reach out to us and we can update that, but they physically can't. So then if we're getting to the point where kids are, you know, trying to sign up kids for programming, the system itself is going to base off of their age or their grade, and it's not going to let them sign up for something that would not be within that realm. And it actually rolls itself over the 1st of June every year. If the child is in, let's say, 1st grade, June 1st of next year, it'll automatically say now they're in 2nd grade. So it's a nice, smart system on how it is used. Of course, home takes you back to the beginning. So you have where all your programs are. You have, if they needed to reach out to us, it's simple where the contacting is. If they wanted to volunteer for the parks, they can click on the volunteering, and this brings up our full-on information about our volunteering, similar to what's on our website, including links to actually fill out an application form through Volgistics, which is our volunteer software. And they can see all of the different kind of open community type programs. So we've got Creek Fest on there. We've got some park cleanups that Mallory has put together, and we have one of the weed wrangles ready to go that people can go ahead and sign up. The other nice thing with this system is that we can put in digitally any of the waivers that we normally would have people sign on site or be like, hey, bring this with you, and half of them forget. That as they're going through checkout, it'll have those waivers and they have to electronically sign for those. Same with the dog park membership and all the waivers that we have for those. As they're going through checkout, they have to sign all those. As they're finishing things up, it actually has questionnaires for their dogs. So they have to put in their dog's name, the breed, the age, all of that information, as well as submit their vaccination records for their dog. So it's all kind of included.
So even the vaccination records can be uploaded.
They actually cannot check out until they upload their vaccination records. We, of course, have to go in and make sure that they actually uploaded their vaccination records and not like their water bill. Because it doesn't tell them that much. It just, yeah. If you well, we had someone, give their Amazon account, like I purchased this on me, and they're like, no, this isn't what we need. So yeah, so it's not smart enough to distinguish if it's truly a vaccination record from a vet. It just takes that you uploaded something. So we do have to go in and actually make sure it truly is. But we do that anyway because Bonnie inputs all of those vaccination, when they expire into the fob system. So she has to look through that anyhow. So. And then I'll go back home. Kind of one more thing. So we do have some information in Nature Center. There's a shortcut to the dog park. And then up into across the header here, our facilities where they list all of our parks. So they can get the addresses for the parks. But then they can also go ahead and request various things. So the Creek Stomper, any of those shelters. Right now, everything's set as a request versus just a book. And even way at the bottom here for the Nature Center, if they wanted to try and book a school program or a scout program, they can do all of that. And it goes right to myself or Bonnie, depending on who, and we can look that over, make sure it works, and then finalize that request. And then finally, also in general info, it has all of the other things. It has department information. So it also has the board. So your contact emails are on there, as well as, I like this one. It has all of the staff. I need to get Chris on here. He is not on here right now. But you can see board, you can see the parks management, and it has even little blurbs. You can read all about us. All the staff have their little blurbs on there. So again, I'll have to bug Chris on that one. As well as links to, our special event page, the main page for the parks on the town side, the Parks Foundation. I like my rec because it also helps them. So you can see that they have actually a help section. You can click on that and they can ask a question or look up a question. It even has a walkthrough with a video of how to register for a program if they're not sure if they're doing the correct thing. So that is, and even a link to the golf course for Mike is on here for him. So that's kind of just the overview. I'm happy to answer questions or go into more detail on a certain portion or part of it if you would like, but.
I noticed there's a news under general information. Are you putting like current news, like where things stand with overly warming and?
I
like, what
haven't
parts
yet. The goal is probably to put some of those press releases in there. So I think right now the only news one in there was the release that we had for the butterfly trail that was on there. So the nice thing with MyRec is we have the option. So I'll scroll down. Is we have our little welcome blurb with a video that we put in here, but we can actually put in just a short, so we can set it so it goes on and off at a certain time. So if like, say we had, something coming up, like, hey, Winterfest is coming up with information, we could add that in as a special block, as well as there's two different types of headers that would scroll across the top up here that we could put random things. So if, for example, something happened, flooding maybe, and we had to close Starkey Park for a weekend, we could actually put up there, Starkey Park will be closed these days because of, flooding conditions. Or like say when summer camp is getting ready for registration, we can put a header that can stay up. This is summer camp registration opens on March. So just people, as soon as they come on that site, they can see that. So.
Is the golf course on this at all?
It is not. They use their own system for tea time, which they're using a system that's for golf courses, and we're using a system that's for Parks and Rec.
This might be nice to have a link.
They do. There is under general information, there's a link that shoots straight on to where they can sign up for tea time and get basic information.
Very good.
Yeah, I like it.
It's much better.
Yes, we haven't had, we've had to walk a few people through. A lot of it's usually they made a password and they can't remember what it was. So kind of walking them through it. the nice thing on our backside is we can actually they can, of course, request to make a new password, but we can do that for them as well. So we can go in and if they ask us, we can put whatever password they are. So that's kind of the big one that I've heard from people is just, or like I said, they're trying to do dog park and not realizing, even though it's telling them you need to upload your document before they can complete their purchase. So, but yeah, it's been working well. We've got a lot of registrations.
Yeah, it's nice that everything is in a nice compact form, all in one place. It's great. Finally, huh?
Yes,
We
and
finally was
easy
able
to
bring that
navigate
together.
and
That's
find
great.
it, and yes.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts or anything they want to say about this?
Works
Good, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
And now we'll move on to old business, the Big Four Rail Trail update. And did you get some pictures?
I
To
have
show?
a picture.
Well,
that
eight
Jared
pictures, good.
sent.
As she's calling
Town
that up, let me.
Facebook pictures.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
one that
Is it-
from the
It
town.
looks great. They're doing a tremendous job
There we go.
there. I mean, I walked up there this weekend and walked, I think, almost all the way to Whitestown as they haven't put down the pavement yet, but it's graded out and they had multiple trucks and multiple people there and was happy to see that on a Saturday. They were working hard.
Neat.
So is there more of an update, a more substantial
You
update?
know, Jared, he's got a whole list here.
Well, pick out the good parts at least.
All right, so of course, clearing has begun on northern expansion, so you can see in the picture here, this is near Heritage. So they cleaned vegetation, they marked utilities, they began rolling the trail from Heritage Trail Park to the municipal border with Whitestown. So it's like John and Trisha and Jared will be meeting with Becky Kaufman from Zionsville Schools to determine the best path for by Trailhead Elementary. And also explore connections to Hampshire subdivisions through internal pathways. They've also begun erosion control near the ZUMC field, just north of Whitestown and Ford Road. So that control has been started before the widening. Notice to proceed was issued for the Trailhead project. And I think, John, you got that paperwork to sign.
Yep.
And demolition will begin following findings on an asbestos report for the buildings. And the southern expansion has completed all paving and awaits final punch list items, which include seeding, repairs to the Vonteo Trail sidewalk and asphalt path, and replacement of the 100-foot bridge fence. So it's moving along.
Okay, well, it's proceeding and it looks great. And they also staked out the pickleball courts at Mulberry Fields the other day too.
Yes.
So that's moving along and
Fencing is up.
the fencing is up. Nice. Well, good. That's more progress than I knew about. That's great. I think a lot of people are looking forward to that. So that's good to know. All right. Any questions about the rail trail or the pickleball courts? It's all part of the same project. And it's moving ahead. So that's good news. All right. Overly Warman Park.
Thank you.
Yeah, Tricia, why don't you come on up and tell
You're
us
more
about
into
this?
it than me reading his notes. I can read notes.
Jared did send the document. Can we put it up on the screen so people can see?
Which document are you wanting? Was that the,
This is the change order that we didn't think
Oh.
we were going to have to deal with,
you're
but
gonna make me find that, aren't you? Give me a moment. I'll find it. You chat.
okay.
Yeah, just give you an update and then we'll look at the change order. In constant contact, talking to the contractor about every other day. They've got a list of items that we need them to get done. Basic items to get it more passable for the public, and then the full list to actually finish out the project. So we'll just continue to push and see if we can't get those last little things finished up. Like a lot of people, we're hearing they're struggling with getting laborers to get out there to get the work done. That's kind of their issue. Our concerns are getting the project done. And the change order, I believe, is the one on Reforestation.
Yes.
Reforestation. So this is a combination of, I broke it out into three pieces to try to make it a little bit more clear. So this was actually
Yeah.
sent to the contractor back in April. And we've had some dialogue back and forth and getting these numbers ironed out. So the first piece of it is increased spacing for the reforestation areas that were included in the bid. And this reforestation is considered mitigation. So since we're in a floodplain and we did clear some trees, we are replacing those trees. The increased spacing is because we are replacing those trees at a 2-to-1 ratio. So for every one that we took out, we're having to add 2. We, on the original application, had considered Overly Warman to be a part of an urban part of the city because of how it's the town, because of how it's designated on the mapping and in the zoning map. DNR disagreed with us and said that it needed to be rural, which changed it from a 1-to-1 to a 2-to-1 match. So that's the first line. Basically, it just means more trees that are placed in there for that acreage that we needed. The second piece of it is DNR also required us to do an additional 4 acres. You've already approved a change order to do those additional 4 acres. However, the contractor didn't include that increased spacing in that 4 acres. So that's what that cost is there. And then the third line there is increase of plant cost. Plants did go up. They cost a lot more. I actually did the math and divided this out. It ends up and equals about $12 a tree, which includes, the tree, the soil, and the planting, so the labor. And we actually called a few nurseries just to be sure that what we were seeing is accurate and it was right in line with what we were finding from the others. So the total of those 3 numbers comes out to $91,300. That does still keep you under the state threshold for change orders, actually significantly below it. You're not up to 6% of the contract amount. You're allowed 20%. But that also gives you an idea. Change orders are equaling almost 6% of the bid cost of the contract.
How big are the trees?
They're
Diameter.
not very big, but they are in pots, which does make them, so some of them are 4 feet. The understory, I think, are 3 to 4 feet. And then your bigger shade trees are still only going to be 5 to 6 feet. So they're not very big, but the pots will help them to grow quicker. A lot of the areas that you see out there right now that are bare will be covered with reforestation.
Is there any guarantee on those trees? In terms of
Yes.
1 year?
They are guaranteed, yes, a year from substantial completion. And they're not in yet, so we haven't issued that substantial completion.
From a financial standpoint, I mean, this money's not something we budgeted for, so this is going to have to come out of our non-reverting funds. But it's not like this is a choice, right? I mean, the DNR is telling us that we have to have a certain number of trees for the ones that we took out, and it's just something we have to do. We can't sit here and say we're not going to do it and still be in compliance.
Correct. We're in the floodplain
Do they give us a time frame
for
for
Plant-
planting? Like, can it be, if it was a budgetary issue, could we postpone that planting, or does it have to be done while the park is under construction?
I would have to check on what DNR requirements are, but I believe it has to be done while the park is under construction. So in other words, we can't do just the part that we've contracted with. We do have to do the additional spacing rather than waiting till next year to do that.
So we are not yet at substantial completion for Overly Ormond Park contract.
Yeah, right, correct. We haven't issued that. There's a significant area of reforestation and prairie that will happen in the fall. That was a decision because the plants will have a much better chance. That season opens around September 15th. We'll have to see what the weather does, but it's not that far away. But because there is so much of the reforestation and the planting, we have not issued substantial completion yet.
Right, any more questions? Then I'll go ahead and make a motion that we accept this change order as presented to us tonight for the additional trees to be planted at Overly Warman Park. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Sarah Moore seconds. Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Tim Cassidy,
Aye.
John Salowitz,
Aye.
Sarah Moore,
Aye.
Chris Barksdale.
Aye.
I say aye as well, so the motion unanimously carries. All right, on to something a little more happy, the murals on the Big Four Rail Trail.
All right, so the pictures, and these were actually just posted on social media as well. So these are for the Oak Street Tunnel. So the mural is nearing completion, highlighting the history of Zionsville as the Dahlia City. So you can see they're trying to show you both at the same time. So there's kind of the entrance as you go into the tunnel, and then get a picture of one side of the tunnel itself. So once muralist Blythe Edwards finishes this one, he'll move on to the Mulberry Street Tunnel. And so again, we just want to wish or thank the Boone County Community Foundation for this gift of public art for our rail trail.
It's really, really cool.
It
Go through
does.
there. It was probably not done yet.
No,
5 days
not yet.
ago, right, when I went under it.
Everybody can get behind dahlias, right? So it's a good thing. Yeah, it looks really nice. And the other tunnel, the one on Whitestown Road is primed, right?
Yes, yeah, everything was sandblasted and primed. They had some issue with the primer.
Yeah.
And that's why we went from three locations to just the two, because of the added costs for trying to get it to stick correctly.
And did somebody ask for pictures of the other tunnels last week? Didn't somebody do that last month?
Sarah did. I did, yeah.
Did you get them?
I don't think so, but could have missed it.
Well, Jared's watching at home. Hopefully he'll get them to you then. Jared, get those pictures to her. It's gonna
And
look
if
like
I
a big,
missed it, I'm sorry.
it's gonna look like a big log with animals.
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
what
so
I
we
was
can get behind
excited to
animals
see.
too. It's a good non-controversial mural on both of these tunnels. I think it's gonna look really nice and really enhance the trail. All right, and it's not costing us anything either.
No.
So that's a good thing too. We like that. All right, anything else for Mindy? All right, moving on then to other board-related items, and I just wanted to mention real quick, the passing of George Tiki John. I didn't know George, but I know several of you did, and he's a good longtime Zionsville guy. He has been very active, big supporter of the parks. In fact, he's been on this board. He's been a past president. His wife Nancy was also on the board, so we just wanted to note his passing, and may he rest in peace, and obviously our best to his family. So, all right, moving on now to claims. Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the claims?
Like this, mention one thing, with the Over the Woman Park and the disc golf, there's a lot of people have found this, enjoyed it. It's both saying it's fun and extremely challenging.
Mhm.
So I think it's going to be an awesome addition to our parks, and a lot more wondering how we're going to maintain it. So that's going to be the big question is, who.
Well, we do have the Friends of Overly Warman Park, which is planning to go down there in the fall, right, and do a cleanup, or organize a cleanup. So that's one thing we can do.
I've
And,
been directed in that direction too, but just,
Yeah.
there's a lot of questions that I see
Right.
posted on that.
Right.
So
well, that's something that Chris gets to think about too, moving forward. So, all righty. Claims. Anybody have any questions or comments about the claims?
One quick question, was the citywide paving was broken up into two amounts, the 450 and 49. Why was that?
Well, one of them is the clawback, right? Tricia? So one of them is the payment they're due. The other is we're withholding the smaller one, aren't we? Until they finish the
The
punch list?
last one was approved last month, is that right? The first?
They both may have shown up on this claims report. I think one was for 500 and one was for 9.
One on these, one's 450 and one's 49,010.
Yeah, the 49 is the retainage, and that should not be released yet. I don't think that one has my signature on it.
So it's on here
It's
for,
on here.
is that the holdback that Tim was talking about? The 49?
That should be the retainage.
Yes,
It's on there
Yeah.
to pay.
Yeah, it's on there to pay.
Wasn't the total 500 plus change order for a dozen or?
It was, yep. I would need to, I could look at my computer, what change order number is on there.
It doesn't say. One was paid under the golf course total, and that's the 49,000.
That
Then-
sounds like the retainage.
The larger number was just for construction under the parks.
Oh, okay. So you don't have to pay out. Yep. From what I recall, there's only 2 pay apps that were submitted for the golf course. And the first one was for the majority of the work. And then the second one should have been for the retainage. And they have not finished their punch list yet. So there should be, yeah, there was a substantial completion that was sent to them, but the retainage has not been released yet.
so what do we do about that? Can we strike that from the claims, Amy, and approve the claims without that?
Yes, I would. I would specifically make a motion to not approve that claim and
Okay.
then make a separate motion to approve all the other claims without that one.
What was the total of the whole contract? Because I'm looking at last month's claims register. But there was, in last month, there was a $450,000 just citywide as well.
And this one carries the same date. I noticed that too. So this one carries a date, July 15th.
This one's dated 7/13. And we certainly don't want to pay these people twice. So do we need to just strike the 2 citywides until we clarify what?
I believe so. Again, I don't have that in front of me, but I believe that original pay app was approved last month, the larger one.
Well, what are the check numbers? The check numbers the same?
Jared may be helping us out here.
I see that it's over towards the right.
There is no check number on it.
Yeah.
That's the check number.
On the right-hand
Yeah,
side.
there's none. Very
All right.
nice.
So this is a text from Jared.
Okay.
Original pay was 503, around 40,000 in change orders. Payment is for first pay split between additional appropriation funds and golf course funds. 40,000 should still be held back. We'll need to check if there was a duplicate though. So I would say approve all except for. We can mark those and we'll have finance look into those. Make sure
So
we're
did you
not,
say approve it except for the 49,000?
I would maybe hold back on any of the citywide on those claims, and we can make sure that there's not a duplicate from last month. And then also that they're not releasing that holdback.
Well, what if there wasn't a payment last month? Then were we not paying them again?
And
Can
then we
we
don't
not
approve till
release
next
it
month.
pending this? Like, could we-
Verification.
Yeah, voted that will verify.
Verification.
Yeah.
Can we do that, Amy?
Yes, you can. Yeah, I was just trying to think how best to.
So otherwise we
that.
have to wait another month.
I know, yeah, I didn't want them to. You can approve it. You could approve it pending verification from the finance department that that is not a duplicate
Not approve the
and not
40.
approved. I mean, I think the 49 sounds like it's the retainage, which should just not be approved. It's not ready to be released.
There's already a check number on it. On the 49.
Well, they wouldn't go out until you
Yeah, they just
approve
wouldn't
it, so
send
you
it,
can just,
yeah.
yeah, they won't send it.
Okay.
And sequentially, that check number is much lower than the other ones. And there's a different date on it. So the date on it is 7/15.
Mhm.
The date on everything else is August 2nd.
And that number doesn't match what I'm showing on the pay app, which doesn't have my signature on it yet, the 49. Let me find the first one.
Actually, the check numbers for the 450,000 and the 49,000 are the same on this month's claims. They're dated the same, and they're the same check number.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot that have the same check number. Like not, I mean, just,
Oh, there are.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's because it gets paid in a lump sum.
Yeah, it's just going to different
Yeah.
accounts.
Yeah.
The amount of the first pay app was $499,010.40.
So that's 450 plus 4910.
So that's the number you guys are seeing it as two numbers rather
Yeah.
than one. Okay,
So that's okay to approve.
yes.
Okay.
Although I thought it was approved last month, so.
I would approve it pending confirmation from the finance department that that's not a duplicate. Yeah.
We need a motion for that.
Yes, I would separate that out and do that. Yeah.
Okay, everybody hear that? Any questions? Okay. Want to make a motion?
So I would make a motion that we approve the citywide paving within claims, provided that finance department verifies it's not duplicated.
Which one particularly for citywide paving? Because you don't want to approve the 49,000 above.
No, we can't approve both.
That's not the
Total,
retainage?
total payout was 49910.
So we want, it's,
It's just broken up into two.
Kurt's probably texting me right now.
I believe-
Yeah, I believe that the two equal 499,000
Should not be written.
because they're coming out of
Then
two
you said
different
there
accounts.
was additional 40.
49, those are good, and that should still be.
Yes.
But We
Okay.
just need to verify
Okay.
that it's not. a duplicate.
Right.
Okay, that's fine then.
So we're good.
Yeah, that's, we're good. Okay.
Are we good?
Josh, repeat it.
Yeah, can you repeat it?
I second.
Want to repeat it?
I'm good. I just.
Okay, you want to, okay,
Okay.
have a second? All right, let's
Do
take
we-
roll, just
do
to
we
make
need- Are
sure.
we just voting on the two citywide things right now, and then we're gonna approve the remainder of the claims
Right.
separately?
Yes,
Okay,
okay, Jill Pack,
aye.
John Wallenberg.
Aye.
Tim Cassidy,
Aye.
John Salowitz,
Aye.
Sarah Moore,
Aye.
Chris Barksdale.
Aye.
I say aye as well. That passes unanimously. And now taking a look at the larger claims. Any other questions about the other claims not relating to citywide paving? Do we have a motion to accept the claims?
Motion.
I will move to accept the remaining claims.
Jill Pack moves to accept the remaining claims.
Second.
John Wallenberg seconds. Jill Pack,
Aye.
John Wallenberg,
Aye.
Tim Cassidy,
Aye.
John Salowitz,
Aye.
Sarah Moore,
Aye.
Chris Barksdale.
Aye.
I say aye as well. All righty. Thank you very much, everyone. Before we adjourn, let me say that we've had a tremendous record of meeting attendance, and I sure appreciate that this year. It's been a good year for the board, and we've done a lot. So thank you for your participation. Please, everybody, sign the paperwork before you leave the building. Thank you again, and we will adjourn until our next meeting on September 14th. Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
We have a motion to adjourn. We have a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? And we will adjourn. Thank you.